Yahtzee.
Yahtzee. That's showing your age, Dennis.
Yahtzee's still a thing. I don't know what you're talking
You
about.
think so?
I think it's a thing still.
Oh yeah.
You
It's
think
still,
people are still playing Yahtzee?
I
Yeah.
mean, 75 and older.
75 and older?
Yeah.
Jeez, who fits into that
Apparently he
bracket?
does.
Apparently you do.
Well,
on who you
if
ask.
you go online, people tell you that I fit into that.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
I'm older than you, so.
Yeah, but somehow I'm the oldest recorded wrestler in the history of professional wrestling.
Well, maybe one of the older, more relevant wrestlers at this point.
Maybe. I don't know, but like I look at guys like AJ and I are the same age,
Right?
And yet people will come out against me like he shouldn't be wrestling. He's 100 years old, and it's like AJ's headline in WrestleMania.
You know, it's funny. Like Cornette brings that stuff up about age all the time. You know, and then he compares like, well, this was my main event in Smoky Mountain in this year, and these guys were this age, and here's AJ at this age, you know, and it's like they're the same age. So
are they?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Talking about the guys he had back in the day, because you know, I guess he got accused of having like, you know, old timers and old, you know, washed up old wrestlers at the time, but they were younger most of the times. They were younger than some of the guys now.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, and traditionally, like I think the guys we watched growing up, like, you know, they were, it was okay to, like, I guess maybe things were just kept a little bit tighter and more secret, so people didn't really know people's ages.
Yeah, we didn't know their ages, and like to me, like being kids, right? Like I thought they were all old at the time.
Yeah, right. Everybody was my dad's age.
Yeah, everybody was older than me.
Everybody looked like somebody's father.
Yeah,
but now it's I don't know. It's just, but at the same time, you know, people take care of themselves better now. So, and you're not living quite as hard.
That's true.
I don't know, man. I thought by this point, physically, I'd be feeling it a lot more than I am. Like I still really feel, not saying that I'm not nearing the end because I'm kind of sick of the bullshit, but it's not a physical thing. It's more of a, I'm just kind of over it.
Mentally, your body feels good though, huh?
Yeah, physically I feel great, and I think some of it's just from like, I don't know, I guess taking care of myself.
Well, you're vegan.
I'm a vegan. There you go, Frank.
That could help you too. That
Maybe.
could help you too.
I don't
Who
know.
knows? Who knows?
Yeah.
But I think all the stuff you've done leading up to it, I think it's the you're a guy that goes out and stretches and you take care of yourself. Not only physically lifting and cardio, but like stretching and things like that. That keeps you limber and it keeps you loose.
Yeah, and I've been smoking crack since I was in 9th grade. So,
dude, crack is the best.
Wow.
Yeah, crack is you know, it's like one of those often overlooked supplements.
Yes, great supplement, and it's cheap.
Yeah. It's cheap. It is cheap. Yeah. You know,
down here in Florida, bro, we can get meth, crack, we can get it all.
Yeah.
Just go to the corner store.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, there's a hot take for the dirt sheets.
Sure.
Bobby and the Iron Sheik.
Loves crack.
That stuff at Walmart. There's a Walmart right near me, actually. And every time I go in there, it's you know, you get like a dose of reality of what Florida actually looks like.
Dude, so yours is pretty busy. Your Walmart, and then my Walmart down here is like, I think it's even bigger than your guys' Walmart. I think it's even more packed.
Probably.
It's I don't go into it.
I only like if I have a specific thing I need to get,
right,
I go in there. But other than that,
dude, I went there because I showed you the puppy and the foster dog we got. So I went in there for the puppy to get some stuff the other day. And dude, you know how it is like you go to Walmart and you go in the aisle, and there's friggin' nothing. Like everything they have is sold out. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I gotta plug my phone in, guys. Hold on 1 second.
Okay.
The Walmartians are definitely a different breed of human.
Yeah, right.
That's a good name. The
Wall Martians.
Um,
Did you? Oh, fun fact about Albany and Walmart. We have the largest Walmart in the world.
Yes,
Where?
I've known that. That in
Albany,
Albany,
New York,
yeah.
yep.
really?
It's the
Yeah.
2-floor one, right?
Yep.
Fuck,
It's got an
I feel sorry
escalator
for
in it.
that sucks.
Yeah.
Albany. So here's what we know about Albany. Albany wrestling fans don't like Bobby,
No,
Right.
and we have the biggest Walmart in the world.
Yeah.
You're from Albany, bro. How could they not like you?
Because apparently they like CM Punk. I don't know.
It was
don't
the
know.
weirdest thing. It was literally like
Yeah.
two different crowds. The pay-per-view, they absolutely hated him.
Yeah.
The next night it was cheers and hey, he's here. Yeah. I'm like, what the? We're in the same city.
Same state? Are we still in the same place?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a polarizing character.
Yeah. Well,
I'm polarizing.
But thanks to that Albany show, we will
I'm a-
forever have our soundbite of "Where's the lie."
Where's the lie?
when was this show?
I
October.
don't remember.
Early
Was
October.
that what it was?
Oh.
Yeah, for Impact.
Oh, okay. Really?
Yeah. I was doing a promo with your boy Bully Ray, and who else was in that? Moose.
It was Macklin, Alexander.
Yeah.
I think
Bully
Dennis
Ray.
was there too.
I was just in the front row watching.
Okay.
I didn't have any pants on, but I was in the front row watching.
There we
You
go.
had no pants on?
Yeah, I didn't wear pants.
They didn't kick you out?
It's Albany.
It's Albany.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah. There's a no
World's
pants
biggest
law.
Walmart.
I had a couple beers,
Least-
took my pants off.
Yeah, least amount of pants per capita.
It's 2 floors, really? No bullshit?
No bullshit.
Yeah.
2 floors, yeah. There's
Who
an
the hell-
escalator.
Lord Walmart. I mean, so what's in there?
They have an escalator just for your shopping cart too.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
fucking fancy, man.
You put your little shopping cart in the escalator. Whoop, whoop, whoop.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
need
Like upstairs is all the like home goods and like clothing and digital shit. And then downstairs is like the supermarket. And then
So they think they're J.C. Penney's.
A fancy Walmart, isn't that kind of like polished shit?
Sounds similar.
Yeah. Okay.
well, I can tell you who won't be advertising with us.
Walmart?
Wally World.
Shit.
Wally World.
Oh,
Yeah.
We could
polish.
We could polish some shit, put some sprinkles on it, and pretend it's chocolate cake.
There we go. There we go. All right, boys. Let's start this thing. Enough of the banter.
Oh, you want to start now? I've been recording for
we
7 minutes.
already
and 50
started.
seconds.
Okay.
I even
Yeah.
saw the record button up here.
All right. So, gentlemen, this is Tony. Tony, this is the gentleman.
Gentlemen.
I use that term loosely.
Me
What-
too.
Known affectionately as the Demi boys.
What up, boys?
Howdy.
Yo.
Tony Devito, the one,
legend?
the only. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Did you say
Chris?
a legend or allegedly?
Either one.
Both.
Either or works.
Alleged. Both. So, Mr. DeVito, how are things?
Things are going good, Fish. How about you, bro?
Doing all right. Doing all right. I see that you got a couple doggies, couple canines in
Yeah.
your world.
Just got a couple new ones, and one's a foster, and one's a brand new puppy. And,
Okay, were these Christmas gifts? What was
so our dog passed away a month ago. He passed away December 5th. And
Oh, sorry to hear that.
I love that. I love him so much. And his name is Razor, and I named him after Razor Ramon because that's a dude.
Really?
It's a guy that meant a lot to me in my career, helped me out.
Oh, no kidding.
You do your homework, Frank.
So I named him after ScottHall as Razor, and he passed away, got cancer, and that really sucked. But these other dogs have really helped us out, man, and they're
Nice. Nice. Always good to get a not a replacement, but a replacement. Like
yeah.
it's not easy, man. God.
Dude, my heart's broken still from it, but like
I'm
these
sure.
they've helped heal it,
Sure.
they're helping.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you should have called me. I got a dog here. You could have had.
You want me to take it?
Yeah. My daughter, my 10-year-old probably won't talk to me, but yeah, you can have him.
Well,
I'll bring him by tomorrow.
Speaking of your dogfish, I heard your dog was leaving shits by the mailbox.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's our lawn, and we can shit on it if we want to.
Yeah, I just happen to know the person that delivered your mail that day, and they might have stepped in it. So,
well, they need to be more careful.
Uh-huh.
And I would appreciate it if they stay off my property.
Well, they got to deliver the mail.
Deliver the mail.
Well, they can deliver the mail, but I'll tell you what, that mail is not on my lawn.
Well,
the mailbox is next to my lawn.
She said it was in front of the mailbox, is what she said to me.
Well, he does not go on the concrete. And in front of the mailbox is concrete.
So it may not have been your dog then.
I think. Oh, okay. Well, my dog doesn't shit on the pavement. No way. No way.
I think we solved the mystery. This is like SUV, SVU. SUV.
I think it's a better story though if Bobby's dog took a dump in the lawn. That doesn't. I like it better. Well, so for the story, the story's sake, yeah, exactly.
In Ring of Honor, they had somebody shit in the Carnage Crew bag, so that was that. The BobbyFish shit in front of the mailbox is a better storyline, though. Yeah,
that could be your new gimmick.
That I shit in front of everyone's mailbox.
The Mad Bomber. The Mad Bomber.
It's one of one. It's an original.
It is.
I'll call Vinnie Mac right now. We'll take care of this.
Well, he's rumored to be coming back into the mix.
Hey, Fish, that's two good ideas.
Careful.
You could be the serial shitter and bring Jerk Jackson back.
Jerkin Jackson,
baby.
Okay, it wasn't it. Sure.
I guess that was my idea, right?
It was, but yours was a different last name.
Oh, it was. Oh.
I said Jerk Jackson, then you said, well, how about Jerk Johnson? And then you went on to describe what that gimmick looked like.
Yeah.
And I said, no. That can't be.
Yeah.
What was the gimmick?
But
I think it involved porn.
There you go.
We've been through this story. It involved.
I love it.
Magazines.
I love it.
I listened to your first ever podcast. Number one to hear if Fish put me over, which he did, which I thank you for, of course. And
all lies.
Dude, you guys were talking about it. Just made me laugh because I remember it all, and I'm just like, man, I can't believe I even told him to do that.
Well, I mean, it was really, when you think about it, the first name I had come up with was Bobby Morgan.
Yeah, and then the Chris Collins, and I was like, you can't do that because I grew up with the Chris Collins in high school.
Wait, Chris Collins?
Yeah, didn't you want Chris Collins?
No, not that I remember. I mean, I could have, but
that's friggin' that's Dale.
Is that Dale? Oh yeah, because he was Hale Collins.
Oh God, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that wasn't me.
God, that was terrible. I guess, like, dude, you can't beat Chris Collins. I grew up with the Chris Collins. No.
Yeah.
No.
So, needless to say, Jerk Jackson was born.
Jerk Jackson was born.
Yeah, he had a decent run.
He did.
He had a decent run.
And it's funny because then I remember, like, when you were going to go to Japan and you told me, I was like, so you're going to be Jerk Jackson? You're like, no, I'm just going to be BobbyFish. And I was like,
I don't know.
I don't know, man.
Yeah. Well, nowadays you get a lot of people that are like, what the fuck is BobbyFish?
But you know what, dude? I think Japan was the right place for BobbyFish, though. You know what I mean? It's like, it was that time for that. So
I think so. And like, I look back at it and I'm just happy to have been, like, in a way I honored my father's name.
Yeah.
Like that's cool.
Yeah. Well, sometimes it might work out that way too. It's meant to be, basically.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Jerk Jackson certainly wasn't meant to be, but it served its purpose because it definitely turned some heads for a little while.
I mean, You could have been a contender, pal.
All right. So, Frank, let's get us on track here. We're going to stay somewhat traditional with this, no?
Let's take it back. Let's go in the Wayback Machine.
Yeah, let's hop
Why
in the Wayback
hell
Machine.
did Tony DeVito break? Why did he break in the business? How did he break in the business? Why?
All right, let's hear it.
I mean, it's got to be the same as all of us, right? I mean, one day I'm just flipping through the channels and I happen to catch it on TV one Saturday morning, like, oh man, what is this? And I, I liked it right off the bat. And, I went back to school like that week, that Monday or whatever it was. And my buddy had a wrestling magazine too. And it had Jimmy Snuka on the cover. And Jimmy Snuka was what Captain Lou was a heel at the time. His hair was friggin' huge and a huge afro. And I was like, man, this wrestling stuff must be really cool. I just happened to see it on TV. Now I see this magazine. But that was it, man. I was hooked right off the bat, and I knew that's what I wanted to do. I joined the wrestling team in 7th grade because I figured, well, shit, I'm going to be a pro wrestler. This is probably going to help me. So I joined the wrestling team, which was another great decision, though, by the way. Wrestling is a great sport, man. Amateur wrestling is fantastic. But that's how it started for me, man. I mean, I just fell in love right off the bat.
So was it Jimmy Snuka and Lou Albano, or are those just two that jump out at you because they were such characters?
Those are the two that jumped out because he was on the cover of that magazine. I don't remember the matches I saw that day, but the magazine covers what really got me. I was just like, wow, this is crazy. His eyes were all bugged. I mean, he was probably doing an 8-ball that day, but who gives a shit, right? He looked great.
Yeah. Snuka was definitely one that caught my attention too early. I definitely have memories of him coming off the cage onto Morocco, and I remember like my uncle and my dad talking about Jimmy Snuka this and blah blah blah. So like, he was definitely somebody who was like larger than life, really like jumped off the page. And he was such an odd, like so not the guy that you would see walking down the street,
And he was so good though. I mean, dude, he looked great. I mean, physically, his body, he was in incredible shape. His work in the ring, even for that time, I mean, even for now, he was great. But for that time, he was so far ahead of anything that you'd see. I mean, his arm drags and the spots he would run. And he was really good.
Yeah.
He was really, really good.
Yeah. So that's what got you paying attention.
That's what hooked me up. Yeah. That's what got me paying attention to it.
So then get through high school. What's the plan for getting into wrestling? Like there was no roadmap, right? I mean,
there was nothing back then. I mean, some of the magazines, I guess, back then had like, some schools advertised, but they were nowhere near me. And, so like I said, I knew I wanted to do it, and I get into my senior year of high school and I met another guy and he wanted to be a wrestler too. And, we watched it together all the time, this and that. So he's out at a club one night and he bumps into one of the bouncers. And I don't know how they started talking. And one thing led to another. Pro wrestling comes up and the guy goes, "Oh, I'm training right now under Dr. D. David Schultz in Orange, Connecticut." And he goes, "I'll bring you guys to the school." So that's all we needed to hear. I went to the school and, the first day was like, "Oh, come try out and see if you like it." So I knew I'd like it. I didn't give a shit what happened. I was joining.
Right.
And I went and met Doc and I joined and that was it, man. Yeah, I was hooked.
So one of the crazier legitimate characters, I would say, of wrestling folklore would be Dr. D, right?
Oh yeah. 100%.
What was it? What was he like? I mean, I only know the persona I see on TV and from the John Stossel interview and the, a few things here and there. And then obviously the gimmick that he perpetuated, where was the line between shoot and gimmick with the man?
I'm pretty sure we always saw Dr. D. You know, we never saw adults. I think it was always Doc. I mean, there was times he was just a normal person, of course, too. But But I just, I mean, you know how it is too, dude. You know, like the best gimmick for ourselves is just an extension of ourselves, and I think he was always an extension of himself. And but he was awesome, he would tell us bounty hunting stories, and he would, he would, the things he taught us in there too. It's not so much that he knew a lot about holds and things like that, but man, he knew how to protect yourself in there. He knew how to, if you needed to do something to this guy, he showed you how to do those type of things,
So like physically protect yourself.
Right. Yeah. Because back in his day, you really had to do that with fans or with some of these wrestlers. I mean, he'd go to like Puerto Rico and he'd go to Japan, wherever he was wrestling, and you had to protect yourself back in those days. So he showed us more of that shoot style of what the business was in that time, which was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Me being an amateur wrestler, I picked right up on that anyway.
Yeah.
And it's funny because, like I said earlier, how I joined the wrestling team just for that. To me, it really did pay off. It really helped me out in my wrestling career. I picked up on it pretty quickly.
Yeah, I what an interesting guy to learn the business from.
Yeah,
and then especially considering just the time that he came from, like where things were much more protected. There was a lot less known about it. I mean, I would think that for a guy like Dr. D, today's business is unrecognizable.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, it truly, like, there's times, and, like I got trained by you.
Right.
And there's times that I watch some wrestling today and I'm like, I want to puke. Like, the cooperation is so blatant. And, and I'll be honest, man, like I'm probably guilty of it at times too. But like one of the things that drives me crazy is just the cooperation of two guys on the top rope. And and it's like, these are things that at one time were at least sleight of hand. At least, people tried to protect it a little bit, but now it's like, it's just blatant. And it's, I think it's one of the things that kills our business. I think it's one of the things that, and this is me being on my soapbox a little bit, but it's one of the things that like the cooperation and the anticipation is that's the quickest thing to take me out of my suspension of disbelief immediately.
Right.
Like when a guy defensively, his body language lets you know that he knows what's coming. Okay, fucking game off, boys. Yeah. Like, this is bullshit. You might be fucking dancing.
I agree with you. I mean, and it's even the way like these guys call their matches nowadays. It's like listen, I'm not saying I called in the ring, they just, everything is planned, everything. And it's just like, come on, man. Do you have to plan every single thing, And I don't know.
I've been there myself, and I'm guilty of both. But I will say that recently, a few of the outings that I've had, one in particular, we just didn't have time to put stuff together. And the guy that I worked with was a younger guy, but he was, very capable. Right. And I had actually come off of something the week prior that was really very, very much about getting me reacquainted with call it in the ring, dude.
Right.
And so I was like ready to do that. And I remember that match in particular was one of those where it was like, man, this just reminded me of how organic this can be.
Right.
And when you're not trying to remember, ABC, how much more fun this is.
How much more fun. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, these guys put so much I don't even know how they can remember all the spots they do. Like, there's no remember any of that shit. No way.
Yeah.
Maybe back in the day, but now, no way. I can't do that.
Yeah.
But dude, it's funny. Like, so I just did a match maybe a month ago, and it's a tag match, and the two guys go out to the ring, and I'm in the back with my partner, and not Loke, it's just a random guy, and he's like, man, I don't know if I go out there. I have really bad side pains, and right at last minute, I just grabbed another guy and I said, come on, we're gonna go out there, and this kid's good enough, Ponta, he's a Florida guy down here. He's good enough that we just went out there, and he had no idea. All we told him was to finish at that point. The other guys had no idea he was coming out.
That's awesome.
Wow.
Everything was on the fly. It was funny.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's just a cool way to, now, you remember training, dude. I'd always have you guys call matches on the fly.
Mm-hmm.
I'd always have you guys do that because you need to know it just in case.
Yeah. And that's where it's true. Like the art of it comes through. I remember working for NXT and I got knocked loopy in a match, and it was me and Kyle, and they pulled me. It was TV, and they sent Roddy out to tag with Kyle, and Roddy came out in jeans and sneakers, and Roddy literally filled in, and and I don't want to say they didn't miss a beat. It wasn't perfect, but it was awesome, and it's what this business should be. Yeah. When you have like a real pro like that, and Roddy was a total pro, and everybody was in that situation, but Kyle and Roddy really, they were fantastic. So,
well, a lot of the problem too is that we always say it, right? We always say, don't let the fans dictate your match. But unfortunately, the boys are letting the fans dictate their match.
100%. 100%.
It's not always that way. It's not always that way. It's just, I mean, like to me, you want to do your spots and you want to do that stuff. That's awesome. Can you just sell a little bit in between? Just sell. Like I'm not going to shit on them for your spots. Just sell, man.
Sell.
In your transition, sell. Make the people care about what you're doing.
Yeah.
Hit move after move after move. I don't even know what just happened anymore.
Yeah, we did good. We did a good amount at a point recently where we were working with a lot of younger talent and very much in a heel role against babyface tag teams. And, these guys, they sure as shit could call their comeback to you. They knew everything they were doing in their comeback. Right. But when it came time for them to sell in the beginning, like before you're going to get your comeback, like, you're putting the cart before the horse here.
Right.
Like you're going to blow this great comeback and nobody gives a shit. You didn't lay the groundwork before the comeback, you stupid ass.
And I think a lot of times too, it's like these guys, they just care about getting their shit in.
Well, that's what I mean.
Yeah. How about your opponent? How about you make your opponent look good for a little bit?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's exactly what it was. It was like, as heels, you're out there and you're going to give it back and bump your ass off for them and make them look like $1 million, but like you couldn't tell them otherwise, but it was like, dude, people are going to care about your comeback more if you put a little effort into making them believe. But I don't know. I mean, again, I don't want to be on the soapbox, but some of these guys, they know better. So
the way I look at it too, it's never going to go back to what it was, right? Because dead. Everyone
you can't put the
right, but why can't it be like a movie still? Why can't you come in and suspend belief and just come in and get into the characters, get into what the guys are doing, get into what we're giving you, and take it for what it is. Why we got to go out there and be acrobats? Why do we got to do 3 flips just to get a pop from the crowd? I can get a pop with my mouth. I don't have to do all that.
Right.
And that's the thing that's missing too, man. Like, I don't think these guys play to the crowd enough. Like, they think playing to the crowd is doing all their moves, where to me it's using my mouth to get heat or using your selling to get the reaction that you want from those fans. It's a lost art.
I agree.
It's a lost art.
And I think when it comes to the mic stuff, they're all into the cheap heat. Like, let me say a name, they get a reaction on somebody, even though I'm not going to face Triple H or whatever.
Yeah.
It's never going to happen. It's all cheap heat.
Cheap okay too, like for a little bit, but you can't base everything off your cheap heat too. You know, like you got to get legit heat.
Well, I think it became the cool thing to pop the internet, you know, and then it's like that's turned into its own like sort of monster where it's like, you know, the real appetite in pro wrestling these days from a fan standpoint is they want to know the dirt.
Yeah.
They don't give a shit about what the angle is that's on TV because they think they're smarter than that anyway. And it's like, you're almost ruining the
movie.
Yeah. You kind of ruin the story. Like you take your own ability to follow it out of the whole equation. It doesn't make sense.
Why is pro wrestling the only thing that everybody wants to know what the hell's going on behind the scenes? Why isn't it like that in any other sport?
Or the movies? Like, I mean, even when it comes to movies, like people just accept the special effects for what they are.
What they are. You don't go behind the scenes and look at it and say, right there. No, of course
no.
I mean, what the
Right.
Yeah.
Only in pro wrestling.
Yeah, pro wrestling.
Yeah. I hate it.
I love it. I do love it, but
I hate it.
I just can't watch it the way it used to be watched.
I definitely don't watch. You know who so I like watching a person just kind of come into their own. And I feel like I've watched that happen with guys. So like two that jump out to me right now. And we've both known them for years, but I don't know. I think they're doing some of their best work right now, but is Seth Rollins and Sami Zayn.
I got to throw it in there. I got to throw LA Knight in there too. The stuff LA Knight has been doing with Bray Wyatt has been pretty cool too.
I haven't seen LA Knight. I can't even judge him, but
yeah, Frank, who invited you?
But like I said, I don't really get out of here, kid.
No, I don't. I mean, I don't know LA Knight that well.
Yeah.
You know, he was briefly in NXT before I left, so I don't know him that well. I guess my point was that I knew Seth and Sammy when they were younger, and we were all kind of on a similar come up, and to just see how polished they are now and the like little nuanced stuff that they can pull out of their gimmick now that, you know, wasn't there years ago. It's just kind of cool to see the layers grow with people. And LA Knight may be, you know, wholeheartedly doing the same thing, but I don't have a reference point to be able to watch the progress, you know.
I think Sammy's incredible, dude. I think he's a great heel. He's a great talker. He works his ass off. I mean, Rollins does too. But I didn't see those guys before. I didn't watch.
Okay.
I didn't watch El Generico. I didn't know. I knew of them. I never saw them. So
I mean, Sammy big time, because as El Generico, like, I mean, he didn't talk, you know. He was
and look at him, he's
Spanish.
He could talk his ass off, dude.
Yeah
Man.
Well, that's the thing too, is I feel like it happens with wrestling crowds very quickly. They decide, they see somebody one way and like, okay, well, they can talk or they can't talk, or they can this or they can't that. Like, I know for myself, in Ring of Honor and stuff, before I was known even a little bit, like, I had to run my mouth. And so I did. And then I started to get some momentum going. And then when I got to NXT, it was, you know, it was made clear to me that, like, you know, my spot in this group was not really a mouthpiece. So I backed it up, because the way that WWE was described to me, and I thought it was a great analogy, was like, okay, you're cast in this movie, and like, you don't get to be like, well, I'm not a supporting actor. Like, I'm Tom Cruise.
Right.
No, you play your role. And like my role was not really to talk. So I found, and it was Paul Heyman actually who talked to us as a group and who was like, the sum of the parts is the important thing, but at the same time, it's like the little bit of difference that each character brings, yada yada yada, and it all made sense, and I was totally down with that.
Right.
But in the few, the whatever 3-4 years that I was doing that, like you've got this whole audience of pro wrestling fans now that are like, oh yeah, Fish can't talk, and it's like. I chose not to, like Adam was such and is such a great mouthpiece that like Adam pretty much fielded all of it. And like the other three of us, it's not that Kyle, Roddy, and I couldn't talk, but we didn't need to.
No.
So,
well, you let your talking be in the ring, and that was okay too. There's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
Yeah. Not everybody has to. I mean, it's nice to say a few things, that's for sure.
Yeah. But even that, like, I mean, you kind of like learn like, okay, well, yeah, I don't have to be the focal point, but like I can add a quib here or a thing there and like, let that one thing have more meaning than, trying to get a word in edgewise. It's like, no, it's not. That's not your role. And I didn't want any other role. I loved my role.
Yeah. I mean, dude, there's tons of times I've done promos with guys, and if I don't say much, I just add those little background things. You know? In between their words, you throw a little something out there. That's all. Yeah. That way you hear everybody, but you don't really hear everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I used to, when they would cut a promo or whatever, like I would just wait for a bit of silence and just say like cock, balls,
just to get us something in there,
Yeah, just to, to be remembered.
That's it.
Something.
That's it.
Oh, that's the guy that says cock all the time. Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
I like the way he talks, mommy.
That sounds dirty. That sounds dirty.
Yeah, it does.
All right, Frank, get us back on track here.
Get us on track, Frank.
All right, take us to the old WWE/F in the 90s. What was it like being in the 90s?
Man, it was so awesome, of course. But I was so brand new. I was green going there. I had one match before I went to do TV tapings.
Really?
Yeah, and of course by that time I hooked up with Paul Roma because unfortunately, David Schultz slapped the shit out of John Stossel, as we all know. Great time in pro wrestling history. Yes. And Doc got blackballed from the business, and he kind of had that talk with us, and he goes, "Hey guys, I think you guys are ready to do stuff." He goes, "Unfortunately, I really don't have any connections for you guys."
Oh, really? So you were training under him when that went down?
No, not when it went down, but it was already, he was already blackballed and he hadn't done anything in years, dude. He was just training guys, but he hadn't done any shows.
Okay.
He was bounty hunting, right?
Right.
And he goes, Mario Mancini had a school there. So the original school I went to was at Quest, Passerello's Quest Gym in Orange, Connecticut. So Tony Altimore originally had a school there. So Captain Lou would go there. Tony Altimore would go there. So Paul Roma trained there. Mario Mancini trained there.
Okay.
The Power Twins trained there. Not the Power Twins from the two little jacked up steroid guys. Not them. if you remember them, Fish.
The Power Twins. The Dicks?
No, the Power Twins.
Did they look like the Dicks?
No, they were twins, but they wrestled for Herb Abrams promotion.
Oh, were they bald?
No, they kind of looked like they kind of looked like Hercules in the face a little bit.
Let me just keep throwing more things at the wall, more shit at the wall.
Did they have?
Were they men?
So
they were male.
They were males. Yeah, they had wieners. Yeah, two of them.
They were male men.
So. Mario Mancini had a school there also, but he used to go later in the afternoon. We used to go in the morning. Mario had a school later. So he goes, "I'm going to have Mario Mancini come down and look at all you guys and see if he can help you out." Mario comes down one Saturday and me and Mike Bell were in the ring. We do a match for Mario. He goes, how the fuck am I going to train you guys anything? He goes, you guys are better than me. I can't show you guys anything. And we're like, well, we're hoping you can get us work, and that was really what it came from. But I don't know. He had nothing for us. So
perfect.
Around the same time, Paul Roma had just started his boxing career. And he happened to train at that school where I was training. But the girl, some lady bought the gym from Passarello, bought the gym and moved it and put some boxing stuff in there for Paul. So Paul started working out and hitting the bags and doing all kinds of stuff in there for boxing. Whoops. But somehow him and Doc hooked up, and Paul said he'd come in and start training us. And Paul kind of took over from there and never took any money from me or did anything. But he's the guy that got us all booked for TV. So so Paul Roma booked. It was me and Mike Bell and PJ Walker at the time, of course, just incredible, and this guy Nick Barbary, and that's it, man. He hooked us up, and we went, and that's how it started happening. But dude, Frank, you asked, it was like a circus there, bro. I mean, these guys were 9 foot tall. They were all in costumes. It was the weirdest thing to me. It really would look like a circus, And but I loved it because that's the circus I wanted to be a part of. So it was great.
And around this time, you meet ScottHall, right?
What time? When did he go? He came in Did he come in like 94? When did he come in?
About 94.
So I started doing TVs like the end of 92. So I guess I had a good little over a year before he came in. So
was this Cowboy ScottHall? Right? Because I remember when, growing up, remember the first few times I think I saw him in the AWA or something, and he was definitely like, just the Tom Selleck mustache, mullet,
big mustache,
just the straight up, not razor,
but he had already been doing the Diamond Stud Fish. If you remember in WCW, he was already doing Diamond Stud, so he kind of came with that same type of gimmick.
Right. That would eventually become Razor. Okay.
Right. So funny.
Yeah, I do remember the Diamond Stud.
So funny thing about the mustache. So we did a TV with him. We met him, but it was like his first TV is in, and they were just giving him, he was so busy. So we didn't get a really chance to meet him.
With WWF.
Right. So then we come back and we're doing a show, and I think it was Raw in Poughkeepsie, New York. And it might have been a house show actually in Poughkeepsie. And me and Bell were there. I think it was a house show now that I'm thinking of it. And we really got to talk to Scott that day. And I told him, I said, man, I'm really glad you got rid of that stupid mustache. he turns around and he just goes, fuck you, man.
Yeah.
And then I named my dog after him.
DDP named a yoga move after him.
See?
Yes. It used to be called the knife edge. It's now called the razor's edge.
Well, I mean, what a great name, by the way.
Yeah.
Great name.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Okay. So ScottHall, and then where's the? So tell us more about your dealings with Razor.
With ScottHall?
Yeah. Was that kind of the end of the?
No, and that was the beginning of the friendship that I think we built with him, and for whatever reason, man, he liked me, Bell, and PJ. He really and Nick,
awesome.
Four of us, but man, he really liked the three of us a lot, and man, he would just take us aside and he would give us pointers and tell us things, hey, do this, don't do that. So me used to tag a lot, as you could remember, and they'd announce me and Bell, like, man, like Scott would tell us, he's like, man, you guys, when that camera's on you, it's on you. So if it's 10 seconds, do what you guys have to do to get over. Mm-hmm. So me and Bell are like, well, what the hell can we do? So we decided that we started to we used to high five, come down, and then we point at the camera. And ScottHall's like, he goes, you guys were fucking awesome. He goes, I told you guys that camera's on you for that 10 seconds. And he goes, that was fucking perfect. He goes, that's exactly what you guys need to do. And we did it all the time from there on out. And then years later, he might have started pointing. They might have started doing that pointing thing. But it's cool, man. I mean, just things like that. Him telling us when that camera's on you, that's your time. Don't do what you do to get over. And it's just things like that. He really kind of helped us out with in the business. You know, a couple times I worked him. You know, he'd break things down for me afterwards, tell me this is good, this isn't good, or do this or do that. You know, and he was awesome, man. He really was. He was good to us.
And correct me if I'm wrong. That time in the business, that was a little bit more rare than not. Correct? Like,
no, I think it was on the tail end of that. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
That used to be the norm. The veterans always took the green guys in. Yeah, you fucked with him and you ribbed them and you did this.
Okay.
But you took care of the green guys because you showed them the business. And Scott used to tell us that. He goes, you know, one day you guys are going to do the same thing for people.
Sure.
You know, and I'd like to think that I really tried to do the same thing for a lot of people. And I think I succeeded in a lot of spaces, in a lot of parts like that. I really do.
Well, I mean, I know for sure you filled that role for me. I mean, you know, there's no way I am doing. There's no way that I hate my professional career right now if it weren't for you. No, I'm just saying. No, I mean, there's no way that there's any you know, any me in this business without that time.
I appreciate it, man. And guys like Scott were the reason that I did what I did too. I think, you know, I think he's the guy that kind of set me into those ways. Like, hey man, you got to take care of the next generation. Yeah. And like I said before, it was on the tail end of that, you know, like guys still did do that. Like, so, you know, Just Incredible PJ got hired in the company, you know, they gave him the Aldo Montoya gimmick, and, you know, he really is part of the clique and he doesn't get any credit for that. But PJ is part of the clique. You know, it's not just those guys you know of. PJ's there too.
Right.
He was the young boy, but they took care of him, and Scott especially took care of him.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's pretty cool too to think like that you play that forward and it crosses generations, because I know like years later I'm working in New Japan and Cody Hall is ScottHall's son is, you know, working with us, and we worked directly with him for different they had him in the Bullet Club, and he was kind of their heavy, and we got to do a lot of stuff with Cody, and got to know him on a little bit better level. And it's really just kind of interesting to think that like all those years ago, his dad was, you know, gracious to you, and then I learned wrestling from you, and then all these years later in Japan of all places, Scott Hall's son, you know, somehow there's a dot connected from you to his son. That's just cool.
It is cool when you think about it like that. It's really, really cool that it can happen that way. So he was great to us, man. So I do have a funny story if you want to hear that real quick too.
No, we don't nothing funny.
Nothing funny.
All business.
What is this podcast from Canada?
Hey.
So
let's hear it.
I hadn't seen Scott in years, and now he's in WCW, and I mean NWO is blowing the fuck up, huge. I'm working at Scores in New York City, and I'm working the front door. Nitro must have been in town, or they were close by, and he came by after the show, and I hadn't seen him in years, dude. He gets out of the car, he sees me, and he used to call me Troll because Raven, you know, Scotty would call me Troll. Somehow back in that day, they called me. My hair was, I don't know. They called me Troll. So he gets out of the car and he goes, Troll. And he fucking grabs me and just kisses me right on the lips.
Nice.
And I go,
nice.
He looks at me and he goes, what? I can't kiss you? And I go, you just did. So, I can't do nothing about it.
Yeah, I mean,
sorry about that.
Yeah, somebody
My
turned off the
mommy.
lights.
That was my mommy. Tried calling me.
No.
Okay. No, busy.
I go from ScottHall molesting me to my mommy calling.
That's all right. We all got one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah,
All
good.
right.
Dude. And I miss that guy a lot, man. He was a great.
Yeah.
He really.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember him coming to NXT. It was him, Sean, and Nash. And we would do like film study or whatever. And we just had one of these one day where they happened to be at the PC, and we watched Sean and Razor's ladder match.
Very
and just to be a fly on the wall in that room, and like just the three of them, kicking the shit back and forth between each other and watching that. That was like something that was like a fan experience that people would have paid money for.
So you want to hear my story behind that?
Sure. I'd love to.
Me and myself and Mike Bell, of course, we were booked at WrestleMania 10. We played the Doinks and the Dunk Tanks, and
Nice.
we all stayed in the same hotel. And like I said, Scott and Sean, they were all cool to us, and we were up in their room the night before the show, WrestleMania, and those guys were talking their match over, dude. And me and Bell were just sitting there giggling like two little schoolgirls.
Yeah,
I mean, we got to hear the whole fucking match, dude. Everything.
really,
Very cool.
so cool.
It gives me chills right now just thinking about it. What a cool moment, dude.
Yeah,
Pretty cool.
very much so.
Very
much so. Frank, where to on this magical journey?
Carpet ride.
Let's go to ECW.
Let's go.
There we go.
Little known fact.
Yeah. How does this
like?
come about?
Yes.
How does ECW? So you're doing some WWF preliminary stuff.
Yeah.
You're wrestling independents on the side. What do you?
Yeah.
What's the world of Tony DeVito look like at this time?
So I did about 4.5 years of TVs with WWF. I was probably there about that length of time, somewhere in that range.
Okay.
We kind of stopped. They kind of stopped bringing extras into TV, so they didn't really need the job matches no more. They kind of started because Nitro started getting big, right? So they started doing a lot of the name guys against each other instead. So they stopped job guys. So I was out of that. So I went back doing. I always did the indies. I never stopped doing indies, of course. So I was basically just doing all the indies again. And in that time, PJ got hired, and he had a job, and then he kind of had some. He was in between. They didn't really know what to do with him, and they sent him to ECW.
Mm-hmm.
Once they sent him to ECW, I started going to shows. And
Okay.
at the time, I was really fat. I was at my heaviest. I was probably 285, and I was really fat at the time. And I started going to those shows, and they would do workouts in the ring before the shows in ECW. And Tracy Smoke run like a class, and then you do some matches, and you do a lot of round robins in and out of the ring, tagging in and out with guys, and it was just a really good workout experience, and I could go do those. And I don't know, PJ and maybe Bob.
Mom.
Sorry, guys. Yep. So,
Mom.
yeah,
The meatloaf.
Ah! The meatloaf.
So, Mom is a bad kitty. So, I think PJ Greg pulls me aside. I think it was Bubba Dudley. I think Bubba pulled me aside with PJ, and they go, "Listen, your stuff in the ring is good, but like you got to do something. Like you got to lose weight or something. Like you got to do something." Mm-hmm. And that was all I needed to hear, dude. And I started hitting the treadmill, and I started working out, and I started dieting. And dude, I got down to 195. So I dropped all that weight in such a short amount of time. And I think that I kept going to the shows, and I kept doing the workouts in the ring, and everyone noticed that I lost all this weight and I got in great shape. And, Paul took notice. I mean, they all took notice. And knowing PJ, of course, helped me out a lot too. But doing that hard work, I think that Paul finally was like, I think we could, we can do something with him.
Yeah.
So, and that's how I got in,
Okay.
That's what it took. Hard work and, my work in the ring spoke for itself too. So,
yeah. Well, I mean, that's interesting too, though, that they would stand up for your work to begin with, but they were like, shit, dude, like, you got to show me you're serious about this. Show me in an effort to lose the weight. Like, show me that you fucking want this. Like, you're not just, I mean, I get that.
Yeah. And that's exactly what I did, like, that's all I needed to hear. And that was the motivation. I had a treadmill. I'd run my treadmill for an hour a day. And dude, I didn't even lift weights back then. All I did was push-ups and sit-ups and dips. And I just did everything at home. And I ran for an hour.
Yeah.
And I did Limbrudol. That helped me out a lot too.
Yeah. Well, it all helps. It all helps.
And Stackers 3, you remember those?
I do.
Those things actually work. That's why they're not on the market anymore. They were really good. Really good.
Yeah. So ECW, and then so does Paul get involved in what your gimmick is going to be? How does this go down?
Yeah. So, I've been bald this whole time anyway. I shaved my head in like 95. So I've always been bald, but, I don't, back in that time, I was just kind of wearing shorts and I was wearing, a band T-shirt from my hometown. It was called All Out War, and I was wearing that shirt to the ECW shows. And I just figured, hey, this band's from my town. They're kind of pop. People kind of know who they are. They're like a hardcore metal band. I didn't really know who they were, but my buddy did. And I said, all right, just one of their songs, and like I just started doing that, And I was that on the indies anyway, but I kind of just switched up the shirt and the song and this and that. And I don't know, I guess at first Paul wanted me to be a skinhead. And he says, Tommy Dreamer comes up to me and he goes, have you ever seen the movie American History X? And I said, no, I haven't. And he goes, you need to go home and watch that movie. And I go, okay. And I had no idea what it was about.
Sure.
So I go home and I watch it and I go, holy fuck, they want me to be a skinhead? I mean, of course I go back and I go, yeah, no problem. And they threw me with a guy called Bill Wiles and Wild Bill, and he kind of taught me the what they wear behind the thing. He goes, you got to get a pair of Spartans, you got to do this or do that. So he had the part a little bit more. And it's funny because if you ever seen the movie, that's where the Sturb, the Sturb came from, the curb stomp.
Curb stomp, yeah.
So I started doing that, and I said, well, let me put the guy's jaw on the bottom rope, and I'm going to stomp on the back of his head, And it really I really didn't get into doing that, but that was my original thoughts behind it. And then for whatever reason, of course, it just got axed, and all of a sudden, boom, the Baldies were born. And just one night, they pulled all of us together, and they said, you guys are a group now, and you're called the Baldies. And that was it. It was me, and it was Angel, and it was Big Vito, and it was PN News, and it was Rod Price, which a lot of people don't know. Rod Price was a Baldy.
Wow.
So that's the original group. So
see, Frank, you missed your window.
Frank, I thought you were doing your homework.
Frank.
I could have been a Baldy.
You could have been a Baldy.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's how the Baldies were born. Paul just came up with the gimmick, and that was it. So it went from a skinhead to that.
Yeah.
So,
good segue.
I mean, that's a great story. Honestly, it's a great story because there was like, I mean, the Baldies, as offensive as they were not as offensive as like skinheads. But at the same time, like it's, a lot of great gimmicks come from a, veer to the left of what the gimmick was, or, so that's awesome.
And he kind of put us all together with that, I think, because like Angel was the Spanish Angel back then, and he was doing his thing, and Big Vito was actually Skull Von Crush still at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we wanted to get him out of that gimmick and give him something else. So it kind of, we all kind of just fit that role at the time. PN News was a big ball, Rod Price was a big ball guy, and that was it. So I guess he just figured we all would be together. So
wasn't that part of what Paul's brilliance was supposedly, was that he could, he just had a vision for, like, he would see a bit of an odd collection and somehow have
put it together.
Know what pieces are going to fit with what, and it just worked, and you don't know why, but you almost don't need to question it, because if it works, it just works.
It works. I mean, that had a lot to do with Paul. That had a lot to do with Tommy Dreamer and Bubba Ray Dudley at the time, and Raven. Those guys got to throw ideas off each other. Taz. Those guys really. I mean, it's all of them that really got ECW going. And in my opinion, it's not just what Paul did; it's what Paul allowed his workers to do. You know what I'm saying? He let them are. And that's really what made ECW, in my opinion. Not only his vision, but the vision of all the guys he trusted too. Right.
Well, I mean, that's a talent in and of itself, I would think, is to be able to look at this mass of people that you're using and know who can be trusted to do what, and not give too much freedom to the wrong person and blah blah blah. I mean, I just watched what was it? One of those documentaries. I don't know if it was Dark Side of the Ring, but it was on New Jack, and it was like, holy shit.
Yeah, that one's a little.
Yeah. All right.
A little rough.
Wow.
Yeah.
New Jack he's another guy. I mean, I love that motherfucker too, man. He is a good dude.
Yeah.
He really. You ever watch Bernie Mac?
Yeah.
Bernie Mac show?
Yeah.
Man, that came out after, ECW was around, and I knew Bernie Mac from like Friday and stuff like that, but when I saw the Bernie Mac show, I was like, holy shit, this is New Jack. He's like the same fucking dude, man.
Yeah. Bernie New Jack.
Bernie Jack.
Bernie New Jack.
Yeah. Jack was a good man. He was a good man.
Oh, that's interesting to hear after watching what I watched the other day. It's a little juxtaposition for you.
I mean, think about it. Like, if people are good to you, they're good to you. If they don't like you, they don't like you.
Yeah.
That's how Jack was. If he liked you, he treated you great. But if he didn't like you,
he'll stab you in the ring.
He'll scalp you.
He'll scalp you. He wanted to kill Vic Grimes. He wanted to kill.
He came close. He came close.
He did.
Came close. He said kill him. So I mean.
Yeah. Well, he wasn't a liar.
He wasn't a liar. He tried.
He was not a liar. All right, Frank. What do you got?
Here's an interesting caveat. Not only did he train you, but he also worked with LT for LT's match. Is that correct?
Who's this?
I did.
He did.
Oh,
Tony.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
So okay, let's hear how does this come about?
So we used to get called over to train with Tom Pritchard started running the school out of the warehouse, up in the studios in Stanford. So, us being not that far from Stanford, they'd call us over there during the week at some points, and we go train with like Darren Drozdoff. We train with Edge. We train with the Truth Commission, and we train with Brian Lee as the fake Undertaker. This is all out of that warehouse. And then, one time they called us up and they're like, "All right, you guys are going to come work with Lawrence Taylor." And that's we went and worked with Taylor to get him ready for Bam Bam Bigelow. So that was really
crazy. Cool. Lawrence Taylor. Holy shit.
So it's funny. I met him before I moved to Florida. So almost 7 years ago now, I guess. A buddy of ours got like tickets to go see, like a signing with Lawrence Taylor. So it was like a special meet and greet and this and that. Mm-hmm. And I went up to him and I said, LT, I've met you before. And I said, I worked with you when you wrestled. I was in the ring with you. And he goes, oh shit, he hugs me. He don't remember. But he hugs me and he's like, oh man, that was great, but it was cool because he knows that he did it, but he just doesn't remember us.
Oh, of course.
Right.
I mean, it's crazy to think like that. He redefined a position in American football. Like, I mean, he was at least, my generation growing up, like the linebacker.
Yeah.
To end all linebackers. Like, he is easily the most known like player of the position, but possibly like maybe the Michael Jordan of football.
Yeah, he was great, LT.
Yeah.
Fucking great.
Yeah.
So pretty cool. I got to do that with him,
Yeah, very cool.
I got to tell you, I may not have made it to where I wanted to make it in this business, but I've done a lot of cool fucking things in this business. I got to wrestle in the middle of Times Square. How many fucking people did that?
Sure. True. Yeah.
There's only a handful of us,
I've said it myself, like, if just one trip to Japan that I didn't pay for, like, I mean, that's more than the 12-year-old me thought I would do in my life. Like,
and how many did you do?
I don't know, and
lot.
it's like to think just, all of it. Like you said, wrestling in Times Square. Like, how many people can say that they did anything in Times Square? Like,
right.
Right.
It's pretty cool.
Some people have done cocaine in Times Square.
Well, that's true.
Okay.
Just throwing that out there. So.
Yeah, some people definitely have done cocaine in Times Square.
Some may have wrestled in Times Square, but not professionally.
Not professionally.
Some may have wrestled for cocaine.
Exactly.
In Times Square.
Yes.
Sorry.
I heard Sparta used to pay guys with cocaine up in Massachusetts.
Sparta. You know him, Frank? You know Sparta?
BobbyFish?
Sure.
So I'm doing Sparta shows, okay? And at the time, okay, in the locker room, it's me, of course, right? Big Dick Dudley, Sabu, Axel Rotten, Chris Candido, Tammy Sitch, Pat Tanaka. And you know what Sparta said? That goddamn Devito brought all the drugs into this locker room. I smoked pot. That's it.
Well,
with a cast like that,
with that locker room, holy good lord!
It's a gateway.
Fucking kid ribbing me, Sparta.
It's a gateway. That's a gateway.
That's a who's who, a locker room of tomfoolery.
And I brought the drug.
All right, Frank, where are we at on this timeline?
We're gonna end it with this. What the hell was it like training Bobby? How did that happen?
Bobby, I started training at a school in Albany, from where he's from, and I don't know, I just wasn't going great for you, right, Fish? I mean, that was really
I found Leibel.
Right.
I found Jeff Leibel, and he trained me for about a month. Maybe it was once a week for like 5 weeks, and then
because he was coming up there, right? He was coming up all the time.
Well, he was coming up on like Sundays or something. I don't remember what it was, but I know that like I had first moved out to California thinking that I would go to a wrestling school out there, and things weren't coming together. So I came back to Albany, and that's when I met Leibel, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know, somehow. And it was, like I said, just like 5 times that I went and trained, and then he lost the building or he disappeared. I don't remember what it was, but one of those 5 times you were like a guest coach.
Oh, I came up?
Yes, you came up.
Oh, remember that.
And I remembered the name, and then so when I hadn't heard from Leibold in however long, I remember somehow I found contact information for you.
Yeah.
And you were in Newburgh, and I was like, okay, it's an hour and a half.
Hour and a half.
And,
Yeah.
I drove down and.
But
Yeah.
you know, the memories I have, dude, of course, you were working at the bar, and I think you were drinking at the bar a lot back then.
I was a drunk.
So Fish would come into wrestling practice always late, but he was always there.
No,
He was always there though. He might have been late, but he was always there.
Late,
And
hungover.
most of the time hungover.
Yeah.
Right.
Hungover a lot.
But he put the work in, man. So that was the main thing. But you know, Fish caught on real quick though, man, too, because he's athletic and he had a background in martial arts at that point too, right? So
yeah,
caught on pretty quickly anyway. You know, it's kind of like how I was. I caught on quick. I think you caught on quick. We had a good group of guys at that point too, so that kind of helped you out a lot too.
I think so. Yeah. And like I think
we had Cheech, we had we had Dale there.
Yeah, I mean, in the beginning, it was pretty much just me and Cheech. You know, in the very beginning.
Then we got like Massive, and we got a bunch of other dudes after that, right?
Yeah, and then Massive, and then Dale, and then remember Guy.
Oh yeah,
come
Guy.
around. Yep. Guillaume Desaad.
Yeah,
I don't remember, but yeah, you know where I see him now all the time is on Duolingo.
What is that?
Duolingo is a language learning app. And like my wife is doing Spanish. My stepdaughter and I are doing Japanese. And Guy is like, you can connect with people on there somehow. And he's learning something too, because like he'll like my achievements and stuff. And we go back and forth.
I haven't heard from him in years, man. He was a good dude though.
Yeah. He was a very good dude. Very good dude. I think, to be honest, he might have been, I think my first actual match that was not a battle royal was against Guy and Dale.
Wow.
I think it was a 3-way somewhere. It might have been for Sparta.
Fuck Sparta.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Frank, so now we got to go to Ring of Honor, right? Quick.
Let's go. Ring of Honor.
Let's do it. Let's go to Ring of Honor.
So I guess the way Ring of Honor happened, you know, of course, ECW folds up and I go back and get a real fucking job because that's what I do. I have a family. I got to take care of them. So I had to go get a job and I still, of course, always wrestled. Ring of Honor comes about. So Loke goes there and I guess he does like a whole refereeing thing. That's the first show. He referees, but they do this whole angle out of it and he's going to wrestle and he gets a partner and it's another guy I trained, which you know is TW Sledge, right, Fish? You know Sledge?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Right? So
I remember Sledge.
So for whatever reason, him and Loke were teaming and they were calling themselves, I don't know what they were calling themselves, Hate Breed, something. So Loke talks Gabe into bringing him into Ring of Honor. And they come in and they do a show and Gabe fucking hated him. He fucking hated Sledge. And he goes, I don't care what you do, but this fucking guy is gone. So he goes, who the fuck could we bring in to be your partner? And Loke just goes, well, what about Tony DeVito? And Gabe goes, what the fuck? How come I didn't think of that? So that was really it. Loke just threw my name out there. Me and Gabe were we were always really cool in ECW. Gabe was really a really good dude in ECW. You can go to Gabe with a lot of shit and he'd do what he could do. Yeah, Gabe was, and since, I was new in ECW back then, Gabe kind of just helped guys out. And it was really cool.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So that was it, man. Gabe calls me up, says, hey, you want to come do this thing? And that's it, man. That's how Ring of Honor started. And I loved Ring of Honor, dude. I loved it there because now I'm the veteran. I'm the vet. I'm one of the guys that can help train some of these younger kids, not train, but like work in the ring with them and show them different things and slow them down. And because that's what we were there for. We were the veteran guys, we were there to slow some of these young kids down, teach them how to work, get them under control. And I loved it, dude. Like we got to work with the Special K guys. We worked with the Christopher Street Connection. We got to train. We got with Homicide and his partner at the time.
Yeah.
We did a lot of cool stuff there. And we worked with the kids from Texas, the Shawn Michaels kids. I had a great time in Ring of Honor, man. That was a really cool part of my career. And what I loved, dude, and if you remember Fish, me me and Loke were our Ring of Honor tag team champions, and then years later, Fish and Kyle got to be Honor champions. To me, that was really cool. And if you remember,
it was
dude,
very cool.
Reached out to you, and I was like, man, how cool is that we both got to wear Ring of Honor tag team belts? You know,
it was really cool, and I think for me, I didn't know what independent wrestling was really, you know. So Ring of Honor was the first stuff that I got exposed to that was cool because that wasn't WWF or WCW, because you got to remember, like, I was in Albany, so the first indies and stuff that I saw, and this is going to be a blast from the past, Devito, but it's like World of Hurt.
World of Hurt, New Breed.
So it was hard to, like, I would be around that and be like, okay, these are not my people. Like, I am not like you. Like, I'm just not. And I'm not saying I'm better than you, but I'm saying, like, I don't feel like I belong. Ring of Honor was the first, like, quote unquote independent stuff that I saw, that, you know, where like you and Loke were doing your thing, and I saw guys like Bryan Danielson and Samoa Joe and was like, or AJ Styles, Christopher Daniels, and was just like, holy shit, these guys are like fucking athletes.
Athletes, and they were good.
Yeah.
Dude, when I met Roddy in Ring of Honor, I was like, man, you're like a fucking machine, dude. You know, like, fuck.
Yeah, he was. I mean, we would say it. That was kind of the gimmick with Roddy, even in the Undisputed Era. Like, he would kill you with gas tank. He was like, he would never stop. Yeah. He's still like that to this day. I don't know how his wife puts up with him. I don't know how Marina does it.
But that was the coolest part for doing Ring of Honor for me, man. It's just working with all these young kids that nobody knew who they were at that point, you know. And it was really cool, you know. It was really cool working with those guys, you know.
Yeah, I remember going to those shows with you, and that was such a learning experience, and so cool for us to be exposed to that, because I had no into that. Like, I would not have been privy to any of that if it were not for, you know, being in the car with you and just going to the shows because you were working. Like, man, I was working. I had no place there otherwise.
And I tried getting everybody booked through them. I tried getting all you guys booked.
Well, and we all got our shots, you know, and at that time you couldn't have told me I wasn't ready for it, but I wasn't. But it came back around years later, and I wasn't ready for it at that time. That's all, you know. I mean,
time was right.
I think so, because I just think that, like, there's only so much expediting of the learning process that can be done when it comes to pro wrestling. Like, I just think that there's a certain amount of reps under your belt, and then you can start to get it. Yeah. Until then, like, you're just not going to get it.
No. You got to get out there. You got to do it. You got to work the shows. You got to learn. It's the only way to do it.
And that can be in front of 10,000 people or 10 people. Like, it literally is, you know, every rep counts.
It does. Being in front of the 10 people learning is probably better, even though it sucks. But it's probably better to learn in front of those 10 people, dude, right? Because you got to learn how to work in front of 10 people. You know?
Well, I think there's value in it too, because I know some of those shows, like, I've stumbled on shit that I ended up like throwing against the wall that I would have normally at a show that was better attended, I probably would have taken too serious. And I stumbled upon something goofy that I ended up, you know, keeping. And it was just because I was so relaxed, because I was like, okay, there's 5 people. Yeah.
Well,
I think there's value in all of it.
It is. It's funny. So I did a little show like that, and I told you how Scott Levy used to call me Troll, and that was the nickname around the locker room. So I decided to try to be a troll one day, and I did it on an indie show, and I don't remember who it was for, and I did the hair all up, and I tried to fucking spray. I did all the. I made this costume for it, and it was kind of cool, I guess, but it wasn't good.
Yeah. Well, that was kind of your Jerk Jackson. We all have those. We all have one of those in the closet.
Yeah, I tried. Yeah, I tried something.
Yeah. So. Yeah. All right.
So listen,
gentlemen.
No more dog shit next to the mailbox, and we'll be fine.
Okay. All right. We'll take care of that. I'll go out there before I go to bed, and
Nice.
I'll be out there with a flashlight trying to find piles of dog shit.
I was doing that before in the backyard.
That was dinner, though.
That's true.
Yeah.
Very nice.
All right. Well, gentlemen, I think we're nearing the end of this
We can't top the
tomfoolery.
We can't top that.
No.
Dog shit for dinner? No, I can't top that.
We got to end it with Jerk and Jackson.
Mm-hmm. Dog
It
shit
is
for
fun.
dinner.
It is
The
funny.
funny
because,
thing
like I
about that is because Wikipedia picked that up.
Pick up what?
Jerk Jackson or Jerk and Jackson, what the hell it was at one point.
Did
It
they?
was never Jerkin' Jackson. It was never once Jerkin' Jackson. It was
Wikipedia picked it up.
Jerk. That's
Well,
it.
Wikipedia has it, and apparently I saw a picture, I think, on Twitter or some shit, and it's a very young BobbyFish.
With long
And
hair.
underneath, like on the bottom of the photo, it says Jerk Jackson.
Yeah.
There it is,
Nice.
Jerk and Johnson.
It's in
Long
black
hair.
and white, which goes along with the Twitter. People think that Bobby was the first person to put over Abe Lincoln, but
Yes. With
Are
long.
you really getting a lot of shit for being old, dude?
I am, dude. I catch so much shit for being old, and it's like, I don't know. I mean,
What are you,
AJ's the same
45?
age as me. AJ and
You
I are the
45?
same age. I'm 46.
46.
Yeah.
people are losing their mind to see if The Rock comes to WrestleMania. He's like 52.
Yeah. Yeah.
God, once again, he looks fantastic.
Yeah,
He's in great shape.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't
Who
know.
cares?
Oh, don't get me wrong. I'm not putting down The Rock because I don't need
Right.
him knocking on my door.
Yeah.
Dude, so it's funny. I just saw a clip of.
Well, and meanwhile, CM Punk looks like he's a heroin addict.
well,
I mean,
he's always looked at.
He's
So,
always looked like shit. Like
Dude, when
even
they-
when he
when
was
Gabe-
25.
When Gabe first brought him in, I go, "That's fucking CM Punk." He was just a skinny little fat kid with,
And he's
you know,
still a
shorts.
skinny fat kid.
He's
He's
not
still
as
kind
fat.
of a skinny fat kid. And then
Yeah.
he went on pay-per-view at the UFC, and you know,
And I'm
yeah,
like, this
I
is-
mean,
He got beat
I'm
up
like,
like
you're
a skinny fat kid.
Chicago.
there you go.
Like I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I think
I
we
don't
just outdid the Jerk Jackson story.
Yeah, that,
Probably. Oh well.
all right, fellas.
All right,
This
good.
Thank
will
you.
be this will be the
I
last
had a
full
good
episode of this podcast that you can get on YouTube. Did you know that?
Oh, it will be. Yeah, Tony, we're joining the Premier Network.
Oh, that you did tell me that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So when does that start?
next
Launches
week.
Sunday the 15th.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
So we got launch week next week. We're on what, Wednesday afternoons?
Wednesday at 1.
We're on
Awesome.
every day at 1. Every day.
No,
Wednesday,
I can't do this.
Wednesday afternoon at 1.
Okay. I thought it was every day at 1.
We can be if you want.
We're
you
gonna be
know.
on. We'll have episodes on demand, so you can watch us every day if you choose to.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
But
I don't
that's-
recommend it.
me either.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
Who's here next week, Dennis?
What's that?
Who's the guest next week?
So the official we have officially booked for our first official show on Premier Streaming Network. Our guest next week will be none other than Mr. Eric Bischoff.
Oh, look at that.
I
Nice.
don't know how Frank pulled it off. I don't know who he had to get in front of on his knees. Doesn't matter. Mr. Bischoff will be our guest next week.
We're coming in
I'll
hot.
be
Yes, coming in.
doing
hot.
an indie with him. I'm doing an indie show with him February 11th.
Are you really?
Yes.
Oh, February 11th. Where will I be, Frank?
I
I think
Where
I'll
is he
be in
gonna be?
West Virginia.
oh, you did say you were doing something that day.
I think so. Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's a Saturday
Battle of
night?
Bunker Hill. I'll be at the Battle of Bunker Hill.
It's called Battle of
That's what
Bunker.
it's called. Yeah. I'm
Carl.
wrestling. Yeah.
Oh man,
Yeah.
Twitter's gonna love that shit.
Yeah. Yeah. It's perfect.
Oh God.
Yeah. All right. Well, tell Eric. Well, actually, we'll talk to him before you do. So
Talked to him before. Yeah.
we'll tell him all the
I'll be-
awful things you said about him.
I'm very awful.
Yeah. Let's come up
what-
with a bunch of lies.
A bunch of lies. Tell him all
Mhm.
kinds of shit.
Yes.
He did kick me and Bell out of the building one day, though. He kicked us out.
Mm.
We went to Nitro and we said, "Yeah, we're here to see ScottHall." And he goes, "Hit the beach." He kicked us out.
Did you go to the beach?
No, there was no beach. We're in
Oh.
fucking Massachusetts in the middle of nowhere.
Oh, well.
What a
Maybe he
cocksucker.
meant go south. Like maybe he was predicting your future and was like, go to Florida.
Here I am. And
Yeah. Here you are. Here you
I love
are.
Florida, bro. I love it.
Yeah.
I do love Florida.
Yeah.
Fuck that cold weather.
It's
I
cold.
hear you. I hear you. Frank and Dennis. We're
That's
down
where we
here.
are.
Come
Florida's
on
where
down. I
Listen,
tell my
man,
sister she loves Disney World. I'm like, okay, well, you're the
It's
one
in
that
Florida.
chooses to live in Albany.
Yeah.
There's no Disney World in Albany.
I get it when you got a job and you're just kind of stuck. You're kind of stuck to it, and I don't know. Just quit your job and move south. It's worth it.
I just stopped working. I just moved to Florida and just stopped working. So
yeah, that's all. I did the same.
Yeah.
All right, buddy. Well, I
have to run that
appreciate it,
past
guys.
my
It's a good time.
It was fun. It was good.
Thank you
It's
for coming
fun,
on.
man. Awesome.
It's been
Thank you, bro.
a pleasure.
Your pleasure was all mine.
A pleasure.
Du pleasure.
A pleasure.
Okay.
All right, Frank.
I got nothing.
There you
We
go.
Nothing.
don't even get like an Iron Sheik fucking impression this week.
Oh, come on. Show
Okay,
Tony that-
Bubba. Okay, Bubba.
There it is.
Nice.
That's the Iron Sheik,
We
Tony.
haven't offended anyone.
Papa.
Yeah.
Oh, Bubba.
Jesus
Yeah.
Christ.
Yeah, do you guys see his Twitter account? I doubt it's him, but
Hilarious.
it's fucking Twitter.
Franks or Sheiks?
No, the Sheik.
I love it.
Because I was gonna say Frank's Twitter account is me. It's mine.
Well, you're hilarious.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
whew, on that note,
Okay.
I got nothing. We'll talk to you next week. Bobby, say good
Thank
night.
you, boys. I love
Say
you,
goodnight,
Fish.
Good night, Bobby. Love you too, Tony.